This is Jared Horak for today's RacingDigest.com, and in this today's Racing Digest video, we're going to look back at some of the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks 2020 prep races from last week, and then we're going to look forward at a couple of races, one Oaks prep, one Derby prep at Sunland Park for Sunday, February 23rd. But let's look back at the races from last week, and we'll start Friday, February 14th. Gouverneur Morris made his 3-year-old debut. Now, he's one that I've always liked on the Derby trail. And he got a good start to his 3-year-old campaign. But as a 2-year-old, he broke his maiden easily in the slop in his career debut at Saratoga last summer. And then in his second career start on a fast track from an outside post, he stalked wide. He took the lead in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland around 2 turns. And then Maxfield ran him down. But he was able to outfinish Enforceable to finish second in that race. So that was a good effort for Gouverneur Morris. They gave him some time off at Windstar Farm, brought him back to Florida this year for trainer Todd Pletcher, and in this allowance race at Tampa Bay Downs on the 14th, he was the big favorite there. But Untitled for trainer Mark Casse is one that has a lot of speed, and he was able to get out there in his 2-turn debut and try to steal the race, and he had a nice lead in the early going. Gouverneur Morris tracked him like that tactical speed John Velasquez rode. Now Gouverneur Morris was able to get to the outside and finally get going around the far turn and into the stretch. John Velasquez was a little bit busy on him, trying to get him going. But once he got going and then got into the stretch, he was able to wear down Untitled and win nicely. And they weren't that far off the track record. So the track was pretty fast, and both the top 2 finishers ran pretty well in that race. But Gouverneur Morris had a bit more stamina in this mile in a 40-yard race. And now they were going to jump him back into a points race. They wanted to get him started in a non-points race, get a race under his belt, and then get him to move forward. So now they have the option of running 1 or 2 more times for Gouverneur Morris. We'll see which direction Todd Pletcher goes. Now, he used a similar path to get Always Dreaming ready for the Kentucky Derby. He ran him after he won an allowance race at Tampa Bay, ran him in the Florida Derby, and then the Kentucky Derby, which he was able to win both of those races. So we'll see if Gouverneur Morris follows that path, or maybe he goes the Arkansas path. They have so many different options. They could go back to New York for the Wood Memorial. We'll see what they end up doing with Gouverneur Morris. But he remains a solid Kentucky Derby contender for Todd Pletcher. Now let's jump over to Fairgrounds for our Kentucky Oaks prep on February 15th. And the Rachel Alexander Stakes, it was a grade 2, and Finite was your winner for trainer Steve Asmussen, paying $7.40 to win. Now in that race, your 2-year-old filly champion, British Idiom, was making her sophomore debut in that spot, and she ended up finishing second, but Finite was clearly best. Finite stuck the pace outside, took over, and won easily, and British Idiom was along for second, beating everybody else, but she just couldn't get to Finite there. As for Finite, I believe this was her 5th win in a row, so she's on quite a roll for Steve Asmussen, and this is the fastest that she's run yet. So that's a good sign that she's getting faster as the year goes. That's what you want to see in these horses that are prepping for the Oaks and Derby, just slowly progressing, getting faster. And also the Kentucky Oaks road to the Kentucky Oaks, the Fairgrounds road has been very good lately. Horses running in races like the Rachel Alexander Stakes, and the Fairgrounds Oaks, they do well in the Kentucky Oaks. So Finite on a good win streak right now. She ran her fastest race yet, and she looks like a solid Oaks filly. Now, as for British Idiom, she's going to have to run better next time. It wasn't an awful start to her 3-year-old campaign at all. She was off the pace, she was rallying, and she finished an okay second. But she's going to have to run much better. If they run her in the Fairgrounds Oaks and she meets Finite again, she's going to have to run much better next time if we're going to take her seriously as a Kentucky Oaks contender. But she still has every right to do that. She's still lightly raced. She's got 3 wins and a second from 4 starts. We'll see how she does. Now let's jump back onto the Kentucky Derby trail. From Fairgrounds, they had split divisions of the Risen Star Stakes on February 15th. And in the first division, you had your top 3 Lecomte finishers coming back. Enforceable won the Lecomte Stakes. Silver State was second. Mr. Monomoy was third. They came back in this race, and they finished in a different order in the top 3 once again. Now back to the Lecomte Stakes, the pace was fast. Enforceable rallied. Silver State rallied. Mr. Monomoy was up on that fast pace, and he ended up finishing third. But now in this Risen Star Stakes at a mile and an eighth, the Lecomte was a mile and a 16th. In this mile and an eighth race, the pace was slower. Mr. Monomoy was able to get out there and control the pace, and he kept on going, and he paid $17 to win. So this was a nice effort for Mr. Monomoy. As for Enforceable, he ran another solid race, rallying from off the pace to finish second, and then Silver State was just another half length behind him in third. So those top three all ran well again. And right now at this point, when you look at those horses, it just looks like the pace scenario is going to be key. If Mr. Monomoy can get up there and the pace is moderate, he's going to win races like this. If the pace is fast, a horse like Enforceable is probably going to go past him. So that seems to be the way that things are going as we head to the Louisiana Derby. And that one will be at 1 mile and 3/16. So if the pace is slower, Mr. Monomoy will have a better chance. But then again, Enforceable should go better as distances increase. And he ran solid. And Silver State's been very solid for Steve Asmussen. So three solid three-year-olds ran good races in the first division of the Risen Star. Now the second division of the Risen Star was much slower, and it was won by Modernist. Pulled off the upset, paying more than $27 for trainer Bill Mott. But as for both of these divisions, the winners are picked up 50 points. So it's basically a win and you're in. So Mr. Monomoy has enough points to make it to the Derby, and now Modernist for trainer Bill Mott, coming off of a maiden win at 1 mile and 1/8, and now he was able to win for the second time at 1 mile and 1/8. Again, pace was moderate. He was up on that pace throughout, and he was able to win nicely. Now, the big disappointment in this race was Anneau, the heavy favorite in here. It was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, was second in the Los Alamitos Futurity. Speed figures were much better than the competition. Everything looked like it was pointing to Anneau to win this race. And even after you look at the final time was slow. Speed figure did not come back fast, and Anneau was nowhere there. So just did not show up, putting blinkers on, switching to Joel Rosario for the first time. Maybe he didn't like the blinkers, maybe he didn't handle the track. Whatever the case was, he just did not run his race at all, and Modernist was able to pull off that upset for Bill Mott, and now that 50 Derby points, definitely big for him, but he's going to have to run much faster if we're going to really take him seriously as a solid Kentucky Derby contender. They ran the El Camino Real Derby at Golden Gate Fields on all-weather ground on February 15th, and Bob Baffert trainee Azul Coast got the job done, paying $4.60 to win. Now, Azul Coast was one. In his first two starts, he looked so good in his two-turn debut at Los Alamitos Racecourse, racing wide throughout and winning that one. And then in his second career start in the Sham Stakes, he hooked his stablemate there. Bob Baffert trainee ran away with that one, and he ended up finishing second. That was a 1 mile race, and that was probably too short for him. But now Azul Coast was able to handle all-weather ground in here. He was able to stalk the pace as well under Rafael Bejarano. That was the key to success here, because he didn't fall too far behind. He was able to stalk the pace and get the jump on the late runners and hold on and win this one. Did not earn a strong speed figure, picked up 10 Kentucky Derby points, and also he got an automatic berth into the Preakness Stakes. This is a horse with a lot of stamina. He's just going to have to run much faster, just like Modernist we just mentioned, if we're going to take him seriously as a Derby threat. But if they want to run, they're already in the Preakness. Now, a horse that really looked good for trainer Bob Baffert on Sunday, February 16th, Charlatan. Career debut. It was a short field. It was a sprint. $700,000 son of Speightstown. He freaked in his debut. He earned a strong speed figure. That was the fastest race so far of any three-year-old. So he's already the fastest three-year-old in the country. It's just a question now of experience, because he only has one start. Kind of reminds you a bit of Justify getting that late February start, and they're not going to have much time. He's only going to be able to have 2 more starts before the Kentucky Derby. Maybe they do the same thing they did with Justify. Maybe they try to find an allowance spot and then jump him into a points race like the Santa Anita Derby, or maybe they try to squeeze in 2-point races. Just not sure what direction they're going to go, but he obviously has a lot of talent. He's very fast, but it was also a short field. We don't know much yet if he's really going to even make the Derby or anything. But Charlatan's one to keep an eye on, because he obviously ran fast. He looked really good in this race. It's an expensive purchase. Bob Baffert's done this before. He has another horse, Nadal, who's run twice. He's an unraced 2-year-old. So we've seen Baffert do this with Justify. He's trying to do it with Nadal, who's quite a bit ahead of Charlatan right now. But one to keep an eye on, Charlatan. And then finally, Southwest Stakes on Monday, February 17th at Oaklawn Park. Silver Prospector for trainer Steve Asmussen got the job done, paying $11.40. He was able to bounce back after not doing well in the Smarty Jones Stakes at Oaklawn Park. But in the Smarty Jones, it was a wet track, and he didn't get up on the pace like he usually does. He was back to getting up on the pace in this race. Wells Bayou for trainer Brad Cox got out there and tried to steal this one and almost did it from the inside post. but Silver Prospector stalked him and he was able to get by. Now Silver Prospector last year, he won the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes, beating Tiz the Law, and then Tiz the Law came back and won the Holy Bull at Gulfstream Park earlier this year. So Silver Prospector, nice effort there. And again, he's going to have to continue to run better, but he's one that he's already won a couple points races now. He's got that tactical speed, and he could continue to do better, but he's going to be facing better horses coming up soon. Now, my top choice in there ended up finishing third. It was the favorite for trainer Brad Cox. He ended up just ended up finishing a solid third. From the outside post, stalked the pace, could not go with the top two. His first start after the layoff. He's going to have to run better next time. Now let's look at these two races for Sunday, February 23rd, 2020 at Sunland Park. The 7th race will be the Island Fashion. It's a Kentucky Oaks prep race. It's not a points race. It's a prep race for the Sunland Oaks. But the Sunland Oaks on March 22nd is a points race, and the winner will get 50 points. So that's basically a win and you're in. So horses here, they're prepping for that, and then if they can win that, they're in the Kentucky Oaks. And after that, we're going to look at the Mind That Bird Derby. That's a local prep for the Sunland Derby. And again, the Sunland Derby is basically a Kentucky Derby win and you're in. 50 points to the winner was more than enough to get him into the Kentucky Derby. So let's look at Sunland Race 7 first, the Island Fashion, 1 mile on the main track. In this race, a Dynasty of Her Own, probably going to be the favorite. She's 2 for 2 for trainer Jonathan Wong, stretching out in distance. She had an easy victory in a local stakes race. That was a sprint on January 26th. So now she's going to stretch out. She'll probably be forwardly placed, and we'll see if she can handle 2 turns. Now, number 3 in here is Caribbean Sea, as Dynasty of Her Own's the 5. So Caribbean Sea's the 3, and she's 7 to 2. And she did improve in all of her starts last year at Remington Park. So she earned an improved speed figure in each of those starts. Now, she almost won the Trapeze Stakes when we last saw her on December 15th. And now she's coming back. She's got some tactical speed. She'll take some money for Steve Asmussen. I'm going to give a small shot here at number 6, Shanghai Keeley. This is a recent claim. She's 4 to 1 morning line. First start after the claim for trainer Justin Evans. He claimed her last time for $40,000, and she's been running on all-weather track lately, but she graduated, broke her maiden on the main track in a sprint race, and she's going to be stalking the pace in here. And if you look at her overall Today's Racing Digest speed figures, she's not far behind at all. She's right with the favorites in this race. And we'll see how she can do, but at 4 to 1, she could be worth a gamble in the Island Fashion. So I'll take number 6, Shanghai Keeley, as my top choice in the Island Fashion Stakes. Finally, Sunland, race 9, the Mind That Bird Derby. They're going to be going 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. As I said, this is a local prep race for the Sunland Derby. Some contenders in here. First, we'll mention the 3 Exalted. Could have ended up being the favorite in this race. That one hooked Nadal in the debut and finished a good second, rallying from off the pace. But this one was also entered in a maiden race at Santa Anita on February 22nd, and that's the spot they're going to go. They're going to scratch out of this spot. They're going to run in that maiden race on February 22nd. So Exalted, probably going to be a solid contender. Keep an eye on that race at Santa Anita Park on February 22nd. Exalted's running at Santa Anita, and he's going to be a big threat to break his maiden in that spot. So since he's not in here, the 6 Jungle Runner will take some money for trainer Steve Asmussen. This one's 4 to 1 morning line, adding blinkers. His last 2 stakes starts at 1 mile weren't great. Really didn't run his race there either time, but he did win the Clever Trevor Stakes, 7 furlongs at Remington Park last year. He's going to stalk from the outside, and maybe the blinkers will help, but again, because it's a Steve Asmussen trainee, probably take more money than he should, but he is a contender. The 2, Stackin' Silver, is one to look at, coming in from Southern California for trainer Richard Baltus. Back-to-back wins in 1 mile races against lesser company at Santa Anita and Del Mar. Now he's going to step up to face Stakes Company for trainer Richard Baltus. Seems to be improving, and he should be up on the pace, but his pace figures are a bit low. Now, a horse that really ran well last time is the morning line favorite. We'll see if he ends up going off the favorite. I don't think anyone's going to be a heavy favorite in here. I think the other 2 horses I just mentioned will take money. And then the 4 Sir Rick, the one I'm going for in here at 2 to 1 morning line, captured 3 of his last 4 starts. So he's been on a bit of a roll. He was running for Steve Asmussen for those races, but now Robertino Diodoro has him. Very good trainer, good stats with his horses making first start under his care. Now this one was much the best last time, running at Sam Houston. January 18th, earned a very competitive speed figure with the other 2 contenders in this race. The runner-up from that race at Sam Houston came back and won his next start. So that race was validated when the runner-up came back to win. Sir Rick has good speed, good barn he moves to. He's going to be forwardly placed, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to go wire to wire. And I'm going to go with number 4, Sir Rick, in the Mind That Bird Derby. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, make some comments in the comments section. What did you think about some of those Derby and Oaks preps from last weekend? What do you think about these Sunland Park races for this weekend? And go over to todaysracingdigest.com for all of your handicapping needs, complete digests from Santa Anita Park, Oaklawn Park, all the big tracks, Gulfstream Park and others. And you can get fast figs. We mentioned the fast figs. You can get $39 for 30 days is that fast figs deal. Just go over to Today's Racing Digest for all that stuff. Also, my full cards from Santa Anita Park are also available each and every day at todaysracingdigest.com. And that will wrap up this week's video. I'll be back next week to look at another Kentucky Derby points race. Probably going to be looking at the Fountain of Youth Stakes at Gulfstream Park.